But yeah, now speaking of Roma, yes, I think that we need to address the issue that Roma hasn't been doing much in terms of Scudetto runs since the late 2000s. Obviously, during the last peak of the Totti era, like really making that push, but you're also going against one of the strongest inter squads ever. Um, do you think now that De Rossi got his extension, do you think that's the right choice going forward? Do you believe that this little sample size that we got from him is like a real deal thing, or do you think maybe it's like a honeymoon period and and it's just like we got to take it with a grain of salt type of thing? Carlo, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I do think it's the right move. It's kind of goes back to the thing. It's like, okay, if you don't get the Rossi, who do you get? Like, who's really out there realistically for Roma? Who do
Thank
you
you.
get? Right? Like,
Thank you.
realistically, you can say all these managers' names. First of all, we don't have money. Secondly, De Rossi, like the thing that's so great about him, he's a Romanista. Like, if he wasn't a coach or a player, he said he'd be an ultra. Like he understands what the players are feeling. He understands these big moments like a derby. He gets the players. He knows the city. He knows what people's mentalities are. So I think he's doing a great job. Obviously we lost today 3-1 to Bologna, and credit to Bologna. I mean, amazing season, honestly. And is this the end of the honeymoons? Time with De Rossi? I don't know. I think playing in two tournaments right now, I think it was evident that Roma were flat today. I'm not surprised by that, to be honest. They're not the deepest team. So I think it was a really good choice, and a part of me wonders what would happen if he started the season with us, right? So giving him an actual full season and getting some players maybe that he would actually prefer more, right? So I still think it's early, but I think they did the right choice. Now, I really want to see De Rossi with like a full season under his belt, and I think we can do much better. The style of play is great. I still think we're decently defensive at times when we need to be, but playing less afraid. Like, you look at a guy like Pellegrini, he's waking up. He's got Lukaku kind of back in his groove a little bit. Paredes is playing well, so yeah, I ultimately feel like it'd be hard for me to say no, that wasn't a good decision. I don't know if anyone disagrees with me, but I think De Rossi is the perfect manager for Roma right now.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree. I know Johnny. I think Johnny agrees too.
Definitely do. Definitely do.
It's one of these things where like De Rossi was even playing with some of the players that he's managing, just a couple of seasons ago, right? So like, forget like he knows these players. He knows the city. He's Roman through and through. So it's listen. I like the move. We were discussing it, I think, a couple of weeks ago. We're like wondering like, I wonder, what happens for next year. Do they go on and say, oh yeah, you know what, we're putting our eggs in the Rossi basket and going to go forward, and it seems to be that way. So, and I agree with you, Carlo. Like, you can kind of get a bit more of a gauge of being able to judge De Rossi as a manager. He's still a very young manager. Didn't have a good start to his managerial career. The Spal stint. Obviously, he was part of the Euro squad, which got his feet wet just being around, this type of environment on a coaching / staff level, and won a trophy. So it was obviously a high. But yeah, listen, I think it's only fair to kind of judge him after a season. I think it's for any manager really. We're talking about Pioli earlier, but I think we're somewhere. I don't remember the exact stat, but kind of almost on par from our Scudetto winning season in terms of points. Like you said, Carlo, we could potentially reach second place, third place, whatever it is, and we're talking about sacking the manager. The expectation is so much higher and everything like that. So the margin for error is very small in a lot of these clubs. I think De Rossi, I want to see him go through some adversity as well. I think it's good to see what happens if he goes through some adversity. I mean, today is it is what it is. I think it was a huge game today. Don't get me wrong. Like that, we're lucky that we got that fifth spot officially in for Champions League next season, because this Roma-Bologna battle, I think, would have went the distance. In terms of if it was only still four spots. So But he's taken over. I think his only loss is what today, the Inter match.
Inter today, and we lost Brighton at the second. We already beat them 4-0 before that. So
exactly, but in Serie A, he's had 2 losses. I think 2 or 3 losses since he's been in charge. So Nick had the stat up. What was it, Nick? 12 wins. He was 12-3.
12 wins, 3 draws, 3 losses in all competitions.
In all competitions. So there you go.
As
pretty
Jay-Z,
impressive.
the numbers don't lie.
There you go. Exactly.
And how do you think he did? Like, he's taking over from Mourinho, one of the most known coaches, most decorated coaches. He took, Roma. He brought them the Conference League trophy. How do you think he did kind of taking over from that, I guess, persona, where even in terms of media, there was so much focus on Mourinho, and now it's okay. There's still focus on De Rossi. He's a World Cup winner as a player, but it's different, right? So do you think he had any of that pressure?
Well, I think it was a really smart chess move by Roma to get, if that's who you're going to replace Mourinho with, you're going to replace him with, somebody that is considered one of the gods over there. So,
yeah.
I don't know if it's about, replicating Mourinho's energy, because Mourinho, the special one for a reason, right? He's such a force, right? Like as a manager, but I think De Rossi just goes in there as a Romanista, right? It's like a whole different thing. It's like, I'm one of you. Like, I'm literally one of you. I'm not here to be a manager, coach you for a couple of years, and then go somewhere else. Like, I'm here to stay as long as you need me. And I think that's the great thing about it, right? And, listen, there are going to be bad times. You're at Roma, right? Look at our schedule coming up. It's a tough road. We have Napoli next. We still got to play the Udinese game, 30 minutes or whatever they do. Then we have Leverkusen, Juventus, Leverkusen, Atalanta. So, hey, you want to see if De Rossi's, the man for the job. I think this is the run that either proves it or the doubters come out, the Mourinho fans come out, right, as you see on Twitter, attack you. But but ultimately, listen, thank God there's 5 spots. What a great time. But hey, Roma still have to protect that 5th spot because Atalanta is right behind them, and they know that. But it's gonna be very, very tough. Very, very tough, because I mean, if you're in the Europa League, Mourinho brought you last time to the final. If De Rossi does that and potentially wins it, I mean, you got to go through Leverkusen, of course. But if he does that, then that is maybe the best start for a coach ever, like in Roma's history for sure.
Do you so I know we talked about like how like you were mentioning players before, like Pellegrini for sure under De Rossi just looks like a new player. But one player that has come back to being smarter or being in a stronger form is Mancini.
Yes.
How big has he been for Roma since De Rossi came in? Like
the bad boy.
Like how phenomenal! Like it's giving confidence. It's giving like hope for like hope. I'm not saying he will be, but hope for a decent CB coming into the Euros for Italy. What are your thoughts on Mancini under De Rossi?
Well, I think today's game, actually, I think 2 center backs should be for Italy. I think Mancini and Calafiori, I think they should be definitely called up. They are in the form of their lives right now. And Mancini specifically, I think you need to call him for the Euro. I mean, I don't know what's different. I think he's calmed down a little bit on the yellows. Like, I remember there was that time where he just kept getting yellow cards and he did not need to. And it's kind of funny, I think, in today's game, he was telling everyone to calm down. And I'm like, oh, I've never seen that before from him, Obviously, an emotional couple of days for him. I think he lost his brother-in-law. So he's playing with a purpose. He's playing with passion. But just he's scoring off headers, like classic Materazzi style, which is his
3 for 3.
title. Yeah,
3 for 3.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely stepping up. And, like, to me, he's just as much of a captain as Pellegrini, right? Like, I remember when Mourinho was there, he would talk to the captains and he would always mention Pellegrini and Mancini. Mancini gives off that aura that he was Roman born when he's not. I think that's amazing. Sometimes I forget that, to be honest with you. So
yeah,
I mean, Mancini's amazing. He's the rock. He's the anchor right now. Through his faults, through his great times, he plays for the shirt. So that's what you want. You hate him if he's not on your team. You love him if he's on your team.
That's perfectly said.
as far as Italy is concerned, I think this Italy team needs a little bit of that wildness, that one player to kind of have a character. I just feel like everyone's just, I don't know, kind of
pretty boy
a little bit. You need a little bit somebody to mud it up, like a Gattuso kind of guy. Just, create some drama, create some chaos. Maybe score a goal, right? Like change the game. I think you need that. I definitely think you need that, especially for Italy.
You think back 2006, last tournament in Germany, who was that number 23 doing that stuff? Marco Materazzi. And he scored a goal in the final. And I know he had a red at one point in the tournament. I think it was the game against Australia. Obviously you don't want Mancini to get that if he's playing in Germany. But sometimes you just need to be a disturber.
Controlled chaos, I think.
Controlled demolition.
Chaos. And that's why I think he's so successful right now. He's controlling that chaos a little bit more, and he understands that he can make an impact being himself, but he doesn't have to get carried away with it and hurt his team with the red, So
that's the key.
That's the key. And I just think Roma also, like, going deep in these European competition has also helped him with Mourinho's guidance too there, just help him through the motions of big important games and stuff like that. So to me, I know I'm biased, but I don't see how you don't play him for that Euro squad.
Yeah, I think it's still up to be said. I think it's still up in the air. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of kind of like a Mancini or even a Cherby, but hey, listen, if they're available, if they're doing great things and they're providing, and it's, for me, it's really not hurting the team, because like you said, Karlo, and we all know just by watching this league, week in, week out, Mancini, hothead, always looking for something, problem. People say Theo Hernandez is looking for that shit, but I think Mancini is, just as guilty, in my opinion. But
for sure.
What I do totally agree with is like we were just saying, the controlled chaos, not picking up these as many yellows, these like stupid reds that he would pick up, like just hurting the team. He was more of a liability than an asset. Like, we need assets on our team. We don't need liabilities. We have we're done. We're done of that phase, for Italy. But, and even for you as a fan of Roma, like, you don't want that, hurting your team. But like I said earlier, I'm glad we have you on. I know it's maybe a week past, but obviously our teams went at it in the Europa League, and obviously, congrats to you guys for advancing. I think, like I said on the show, and I'll say it now again because you're here, definitely merited. Roma, definitely the hungrier team, especially in the first leg. I think they set the tone early, and even in the second leg, I wasn't able to watch as much of it. I caught half of it and maybe a bit more than the highlights, but deserved, I think, is the overall word. Hungrier, the grinta, I think it was all there for Roma. What did you make of the matchup, and what is your expectation facing a red hot Bayer Leverkusen, champions of Germany, just on a tear? Just your overall thoughts of the Milan matchup in Europa League and progressing to face Bayer Leverkusen.
The Milan matchup, I actually wasn't thrilled to get it because I feel like Roma does better against teams outside of Italy and Europe. For some reason, when we play Italian teams, we turn into the little brother, right? We turn into that little brother, and obviously, you have the Milan teams, Juventus, whatever.
Yeah.
But, I think that first game with that early goal from Roma, I think that completely changed my mind. I was like, oh, we're not afraid. Like we feel like we're the Europa, experts here.
And they were on the road, right? So
exactly. So huge. I felt like, okay, cool. And then the second game I watched, I really felt, oh, Roma are like controlling this game right now. Like Roma are not, and I don't know, maybe it was Milan too. Milan's going through stuff, maybe behind the scenes with Pioli. I don't know what's going on. So they didn't look as strong as I thought they could have or have in the past.
Absolutely.
And Roma took it to them, and credit. I feel like Europa League Roma is different from Serie A Roma. I don't know if that even makes sense, but so far that's just how they look, and they feel like they're gonna win the tournament, probably. That being said, like you said, Leverkusen are there. They haven't lost a match. Now it would be something if Roma were the team to stop that unbeaten streak and then lose to Marseille in the final. But yeah, man, like, the biggest thing that strikes me with Leverkusen is like they score so many goals off I think they're wing backs. Like I think Grimaldo,
Frimpong, Grimaldo
in double digits, and you saw Celik on that side, or that's our weakness. We're not the fastest team, and we have problems, with guarding the wings. Even Calafiori today came down that side and got the ball and crossed it in, and we just couldn't really stop that from happening. So yeah, Roma's got to be very aware of that. That being said, El Shaarawy played amazing versus Milan. Definitely had tired legs today, but you need guys like that with some experience, putting in those crazy shifts like that, especially versus Leverkusen. So that all being said, Serie A worries me too, because you're going to be giving your all in these matches too, right? So again, it's kind of like last year. I think I was on the podcast last year, and we were you guys were asking me like how does Roma balance 2 tournaments and try to get a top 4 finish or top 5 in this case, and Europa League, and I guess just stay healthy, because if a guy like Dybala goes down again, then you're not going to win anything. So I know I went off on a tangent, but that's just kind of my perspective on those things. But we'll see. I'm hopeful, but also, Leverkusen is undefeated for a reason. So,
Johnny, you kind of bounced off on here, but
because the Leafs scored.
No,
no. That's why I love the game on.
No, I get my mom calling me, asking me to ask my brother something, and it's a mess. Anyways,
Ma, it's the podcast. Come on.
Every time I have to record, there's something that goes on.
But no, Johnny, your expectations for Bayer Leverkusen. I know Karlo summed it up pretty well, but anything to add?
Bring them on. They're one of the stronger teams in Europe right now. They're on fire, type of thing. They're feeling confident in themselves. Just winning the league title after like how many years? I can't actually. Was even I don't think
ever.
I think it's my first one. Yeah, it's their first one. Yeah. Now that I was thinking about it, bring them on. They're feeling it. It's what a great way to kind of like establish yourself with confidence by beating the best German team. Especially after that reaction that the assistant coaches had when they saw that they drew Roma. Use that video clip in the dressing room, like motivation for the team. It's like they think of you as a joke. Well, we'll show them that you're not a joke, I think like today's game is not reflective of the Roma that we're going to see in the Europa League. That was more of the B squad. That's more Abraham trying to get his legs in again. Like it's a bit of a rotational thing. So it does kind of suck that you have to like get like all these like games in such a short span, but every team goes through it. Every team that makes a championship run in a European competition goes through it. So people need to shut the fuck up about this shit. Like Pep Guardiola was making comments about like how City has to like played out many games in a short span. Who gives a fuck? But you've been in the finals before. You're going to be there again in the future. You know that. Like it would be foolish to say City doesn't get into another Champions League final in the future in our lives, right? You'd be dumb. So like that's what it is. You have to go through the gauntlet. No team has won these championships without going through gauntlets to get them. It's a whole journey and a half. So I think Roma also has that extra, like I said it many times in many episodes, losing the final last year in penalties just shows that you were good enough to win it. It's just, off a bad bounce to get it for the tying goal, and then losing in penalties just really hurt. But they're trying to, it's their like 5th semifinal in a row in a European competition. I think it's their 5th in a row. No, not 5th in a row, but like 5 out of the past like 6.
Yeah, since 2018?
Yeah. They Liverpool in the semis, Man United semis, the Europa League, last year's the Conference League, and then now this year. Yeah, so 5 out of 6 maybe. It was the quarters where they lost. It was the quarters or round of 16 that they lost to Porto.
I
think it was quarters.
Yeah,
I think it was quarters.
I'm looking it up now.
But either way, like this is a team that they're confident when they play in European competitions. It's not by fluke that they hit the semifinals again. they have this different mentality when playing there, and we're thankful for that because it helps with Italy's coefficient. Roma's been doing really well internationally for Italy to have that 5th Champions League spot. So it's pretty cool. I'm feeling very confident going into that matchup. I know that but they're the winners of the Bundesliga. I'm like, yeah, so bring them on. That's
there's no other way to look at it, really. Like, listen, like you know what it is. Like you know what they're about. Like they've seen it. Like, so I agree, man. There's not really much way else. What are you going to be scared? All kids Bayer Leverkusen. You're almost at the final. You're one step away. Well, a couple steps away from a final. So it's like when are you going to put?
They've been there before. They've been here before. They've been in these positions before. Like it's not brand new.
The experience is there.
It's Jenny. It's so 4 years in a row that they've made a semifinals. 5th time since 2018.
Yeah. Okay.
In European competition, obviously last year runner-up in the Europa League. Year before that, won Conference League. 2021, I forgot about this. They lost in the semifinals in Europa League.
Yeah, they lost to Man United.
Oh, okay, that was against.
It was Man United. I remember. Yeah, but that game they had like 3 injuries happen in the same game.
Oh my god!
It was a bad one. Like
we were up,
Karlo remembers,
and then we got smoked. Like
we lost like 7-1.
7-1. Like they smoked because we had nobody. I think they were like rolling people's nonas on the field to play.
Karlo was not joking. Like
no,
yeah,
it was bad. Players were just dropping like flies for Roma. It was horrible. It was bad. Definitely not a good semifinal to remember.
That's when I logged out of Twitter that day.
Karlo remembers.
All the Napoli people came at me with Cavani goal. I'm like, I need to leave.
It's actually Napoli-Roma this Sunday.
Yeah.
Derby del Giannini.
Derby del Giannini.
Yes, sir.
Love it. Can't wait.
My
It's our favorite derby on the show. Yes, our favorite derby on the show.
I love the Photoshop. It's the best.
They're amazing. I love them.
I just have it saved, so I know every time they play, I have it ready to go. You just shoot it out on the social.
Instant retweet,
Culture Guys.
Every time.
It's an instant post. Exactly. Yeah.
How are you feeling for that game, Karlo? Especially after watching this game or today against Bologna, where it's a real top 4 fight, and okay, Napoli's below Roma in the standings, but they're still a good team. We can't deny it. They're not your typical 8th place team. So what do you make of it for Sunday's game?
It's awkward because I think we play do we play Udinese on the 25th?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the
replay.
The Thursday? No, when is that? When? What day is it today?
25th at 2 p.m. So Thursday at 2.
Random.
Thursday.
We play 30 minutes, basically an exhibition. We play them, and then we play Napoli in Naples, right? So
yeah, but Napoli's not the fortress the Maradona is not the fortress like it was last year.
It's not.
It's I don't know what it is. They're stronger on the road than they are at home, which is very sad to see.
Maybe the pressure.
I just don't know how to explain it. Like,
well, losing Spalletti.
One of those.
Losing
one of those years.
110%. One of the main, like 110% the main reason.
Rudy Garcia, the guy they got now, like those are not. That's not it. You're not that guy, as they would say. Like
you're not that guy, pal.
Those are just not good. However, they still have crazy talent. They have Quara, they have Oshiman, who's given us problems. I was there live when Napoli won the Scudetto and Oshiman scored in the Olimpico. Like that was, and Smalling did everything he could, and this guy still scored. So I saw live how much of a problem he is. Listen, this is crunch time, and Roma's got to go in there believing that they can win. They're a better team than they are this season. By a little, it's quite a margin now. So they've got to go in and believe that. It's just awkward schedule for Roma, but no excuses. Like Johnny said, bring it on. You gotta take it. That's also like a pretty big game for the supporters against each other. So it's not a usual matchup. There's definitely gonna be a derby-like feel, if I will, between these two teams. But Roma played really well against them last time. I thought they played. I think Mourinho was still the manager at that time, and they played really, really well against Napoli. So maybe a performance. I mean, they need 3 points for sure to close that gap with them and Bologna and to run away from Atalanta a bit. So they know what they need to do. I'm confident that they can get 3 points.